Hello everyone. Amidst ongoing INTE National Conference on Climate Change, today we are going to discuss about consumption and generation of various types of energy sources and also the emission of carbon gases with respect to the revenue generated from industrial, commercial, and residential sectors across all states in the United States of America. Firstly, we have performed clustering analysis for the integrated dataset based on numerical values present in the dataset. After performing clustering, 51 states are classified into 6 clusters. This map shows the clusters formed for various states. We have plotted emission of harmful gases with respect to different clusters. In this map we can clearly see that the states coming under Cluster 5 and Cluster 6 are emitting less greenhouse gases. On the other side, Cluster 1 and Cluster 2 are producing more greenhouse gases. We have plotted per capita revenue, which is the revenue per customer for our clusters. From this visualization, we can see that Cluster 5 has the maximum per capita income generated for almost all the sectors. Then, we have plotted the average electricity produced and average fossil fuel consumed for each cluster. In this sheet, we can see Cluster 1 has maximum electricity. From now onward to the utilization factor energy generated with respect. In this sheet, we have shown the values of the utilization with descending values from highest to lowest, and we have plotted the trend of utilization factor across the years from 1990 to 2013 for all the states. Now, we would like to analyze the higher utilization and lower power utilization states. In this graph, we have used small multiples to compare the emission of CO2 gases with respect to the consumption, and we found an interesting fact that for the lower utilization states, the amount of CO2 generated remains constant for all the years from 1990 to 2013. Now, we have plotted the emission of CO2 gases with respect to the generation of electricity and found that the emission of CO2 gases for high utilization states are very low when compared to the lower utilization states. We have to analyze why the CO2 emissions are high for the lower utilization states. In the following visualization we are using the type of producer to check what exactly leads to more CO2 emission. We can clearly see that for the lower utilization states, they are predominantly using electric utility as their type of producer, which has relatively larger values when compared to higher utilization rate. From this we can infer that extensive use of electric utility is the main reason for the higher emission of CO2. In addition to that, in this side-by-side circle map, Cogen 1 of the type of producer is the one which is emitting higher CO2 gases for most of the states. Cogen produces both energy as well as heat. That might be the reason for emitting more CO2 when compared to other type of producers. Now we are plotting the graph for getting the relation between the revenue generated per unit of CO2 emission. From this graph,
We don't have time. 4 minutes left. We resume, it will come from beginning. Okay.
producing more revenue per CO2 emission.
But I'll confirm first.
Now we are plotting the graph for getting the relation between the revenue generated per unit of CO2 emission. From this graph, we can clearly see that geothermal is producing more revenue per CO2 emission. In chemical sector alone, other gases produces more revenue per CO2 emission. Thus, geothermal source of energy emerged as a winner among generating more revenue,